All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episodes of the Grind My Gears. Why do I say episodes? Episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Grind My Gears podcast. My name is Ashton Namdari. I am your host of this fun show, and let's get it started. So it's just been another couple crazy weeks, so I haven't been able to jump on. I actually have another episode that I'm gonna put out shortly that I filmed a couple weeks ago that I just hadn't had the time to pull out because it's been that kind of a crazy time. Didn't expect it to be this busy during June and July. But being busy is a blessing nowadays, especially in this economy. So I'm not complaining at all. We had a slew of competitions and just kind of different things come up business wise that we had to take care of, and I simply was too exhausted to hop on the mic and film. And quite frankly, I had some other priorities, health wise, to take care of with my extra spare time. So now that I've kind of taken care of all that kind of stuff, I can get back on here and do some regular episodes until the next crazy time, which probably will be September. But yeah, really busy, successful couple weeks. Just to highlight a few, we had quite a few athletes compete kickboxing. We had jiu-jitsu tournaments. We had our summer camp here, which hell of. If you've never, as a business owner, run a summer camp before, and this is our first summer camp, and mind you, I'm not complaining at all. It was a lot of fun. It was really beneficial for our business on the business aspect. Going into summertime, especially with their, some people, when we run a business like I run a business like mine, you have high and low seasons. For us, low season is always summertime, and December, kind of, depending on the market and what it's dictating. But you have low seasons, so you try to make up things in the low seasons to kind of keep revenue going because people still got to get paid. So we did our summer camp. So much fun. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Uh, you know, One of the things that we kind of had to kind of figure out when we did our summer camp here was I've actually never attended a camp in my entire life. It's something my parents couldn't afford to do, and nor did they do in general. And same with my wife. We spent our summers just playing outside, having fun, playing games, hanging with our friends. So camp wasn't much of a thing for us. So to make a comparison or to build a summer camp program, it's really difficult for us. You go online and you look online at other people's content that they put out there on YouTube and stuff, and it's just horrible. Like, I was like, why would I pay for that? So we kind of had to just do it ourselves, and I think we did a fantastic job. Our goal was to make it so much fun for the kids. They tell all the other kids, yo, this was a fun week. And I know it was a fun week because by the end of the week, the kids were pretty much dead. They were dead tired. That's how much playing and fun things we did during the day. We combined the martial arts with the Nerf wars and all those kind of games, and I think we gave them a great time, a week to remember. So it's something we're gonna definitely keep doing. But for me, it's exhausting. Freaking hell, it's exhausting. So we went from just competitions, and then you have that week, and then into a week of competition, like Saturday. Coaching is a tough business, right? And it's underappreciated. And now that I'm into it, I kind of appreciate it more because I had a Saturday last Saturday, so I would do a whole week of that summer camp. I was doing camp all day and then teaching all the classes in the evening. So you're looking at 10+ hour days, 12-hour days plus. And then I go into the Saturday. I have, I think, 16 or 17 students competing in jiu-jitsu tournament, kids and adults. So I'm there from 8 a.m. And the event didn't even finish. I had to leave before the event finished because it was so poorly run, which we're going to get into later. I'm not going to call out specific people. might. Who gives a fuck? It's my show. But it was very poorly run. So the event didn't finish. I left around 6 p.m. So I was there from 9 to about 6. And then I had another student competing kickboxing on another show in Brampton. So I crossed the freaking city, hopped in the car, got all the way there, cornered him for his fight, got home by 10, 11 o'clock p.m. So it was one of those long days. And I don't think a lot of coaches get the credit for those kind of things, because those are the days that really kill us. Those set me back a week. And then had a day or two off, and then I had another surgery. So I had my meniscus cleaned up. So for those who know, follow me, follow our story, follow the gym and my career in general. I had an ACL reconstruction last July 2024. And ACL is perfectly intact, super strong, doing tremendously well. The leg strength is, I would say, 95%. Leg size in terms of the atrophy from the surgery, almost there. I'm about a half inch off of full size. But about 2 months ago, doing absolutely nothing, I was kneeling down, stretching, like kneeling like a back catcher stance. My meniscus retore, shifted. And it's scary because you're almost done the rehab and you're so close to finishing, and then bam, something unfortunate happens. Now, the doctor recommendation, and people who know me know my feelings on doctors, like, give it a couple months, see how it feels. I gave it 2 weeks. And I knew immediately it needed to be fixed because it's locking up. And and credit, and there's some credit there too. I did a good rehab process when the meniscus retore, to the point where I barely noticed it. I had a spurt of about 3 weeks where I just didn't feel it at all, whether I was grappling, doing boxing, doing kickboxing. I didn't feel it at all. And then I think the Saturday, before the surgery, not last Saturday, I was coaching all Saturday. The previous Saturday, I was just doing a little light roll, and then it locked back up. So it just depends on where that meniscus is flapping in and out at the time. So I had that cleaned up. So my knee is big and swollen right now. But it feels great. There's no pain. There's nothing. It's just a meniscus cleanup. So I'll be good to go in a few weeks, and I can officially put that ACL behind me. So for people who also go through ACLs and knee injuries, that are similar path to walking that I am with martial arts and just professional athletics as a whole, one thing I could say I'm doing with this recovery that's a little bit different than every other recovery is, I'm actually, so the year is technically, okay, you're done the rehab. I'm actually going to declare my rehab done at about 1.5 years. I'm going to take more time to really, really, really perfect the knee, and make sure that it doesn't happen again. With what's in my control. Obviously, when you're doing any kind of physical activity, sports, there's things that are not in your control that you can't stop. So I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time before I say, okay, I'm done this rehab, and I'm going to maybe think about doing some other stuff, some more extreme stuff with my knee and the health of my knee. But, not right now. Feeling great though, so it's feeling good. The only problem is because of all the swelling, all fluid has got to go somewhere. All the inflammation's got to go somewhere. So it's circling around the body and making me feel exhausted this week. But I figured, you know what? I haven't done one of these in a while. I got some time. I have some coverage. I don't have to really stress out about teaching classes with my knee this swollen. So I can film an episode. So here I am. That's kind of what happened the last couple of weeks. It's been a great couple of weeks. I'm very, very excited about the results and all the things that we kind of did. Summer camps, fights, tournaments, all that went really, 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 really well. Successful. So a couple of events that we attended. We attended the Prestige Fight Series. One of my juniors was fighting on that show. he didn't get the win. He had a very tough outing. I found out maybe about a week ago. His father told me that or his father told my wife actually. My wife told me he was throwing up the day of the fight, so he wasn't really feeling well. But the kid's a stud. He's a national champion, and those things happen. You're not going to have the best days all the time, and the other kid took advantage of it. It was a really lackluster fight from both of them. Um, Obviously, because my kid was not feeling well, and the other kid, he comes from a taekwondo background, so he relies on space and aggression. And I didn't think it was the most for the skill level of both the kids. I didn't think it was the most great outing for both of them. But definitely it was a good fight. I'm proud of my kid for just sticking in there, not feeling well in the morning of the fight, and getting in there. And the other kid scored the points that needed to win. So shout out to Prestige Fight Series putting on another great event. I love working with them. I love working with Eric. They do a great job. Treat the kids well. Good venues. And they put on a great show. So if you are a coach in the Ontario area, definitely look to have your athletes compete with them. They are a great organization. The other one we had this past Saturday was KW Fight Series. That's hosted by Kimura and Dog Pound MMA. Shout out to them. First class human beings. I always like to give credit where credit's due when I'm treated right, and when more specifically not me, but my athletes are treated right. Mainly because when I came up in this sport, people treated us like shit. I remember my last pro fight. They were asking me to sell tickets, right? So they're like, "Oh yeah, sell tickets, you make money, you get a percentage." And so I go out of my way to sell as many tickets as I can. I got a stack of cash there. I hand it to the promoter. He doesn't even look at me. Doesn't even say thank you. Just takes out but like $100. That was it, and gives it to me. Says, "Good, okay, here's your cut. Bye." So like, and then the treating after the fight, they don't even like, he signs the check and doesn't even look at you, and it's just the treatment of athletes and martial artists for a long time has been really shitty. So it's really good to see organizations like Prestige Fight Series and KW Fight Series, Kimura Fight Series come along where they actually treat the kids really well. They give them a first class experience, even though they're not professional athletes, which is really cool. So shout out to KW Fight Series. They put on a great event at Dog Pound. Had another one of my athletes compete on that. He did fantastic. Third round TKO. It's the second TKO in a row, so this kid's doing fantastic. But they put on another great show. Great venue, great hosts. They're always concerned about the coaches and the athletes, making sure they're comfortable. Got the kids food, made sure they were swagged out, got them some good gear. And that's what we like to see. As a coach, those are the things I like to see. And then that's encouraging me to help, right? Because when I do a podcast like this, I know I'm not like Joe Rogan and bringing in millions and millions of views, but people are listening. And when we're treated well, we treat others well. So shout out to KW Fight Series for putting on another great show. Looking forward to their continued growth. I think it's their second show, so I think it's something in the making. I think they have something good going on there. Shout out to Jeff. Shout out to Migan, owner of Dog Pound MMA. He's a first class human being. If you're in the Brampton area, definitely go check out his gym because he's a great coach, and they put on a great show, and they have a very nice facility. So if you're in that Brampton area, definitely go check out Dog Pound. And man, I'm a big fan of them and their coach. He's a really great guy. Anyway, we're gonna get to what I wanted to now. I know that was kind of like an intro. That was an intro to what I wanted to get to today. So this past weekend, I took my team to a jiu-jitsu tournament. Now, something I do a little different than other academies. I think a lot of academies do what I do, but some don't. I don't just say, go compete. I don't like that. I don't like that mentality because you got to realize that most people um, who compete at tournaments are still recreational athletes. Now, what I mean by that is they they do jiu-jitsu for fun. They have a full-time career. Jiu-jitsu is a hobby, and for whatever reasons, they like to compete, um, to test themselves, to build them certain parts of their personality up. Maybe they have anxiety, so it helps them conquer anxiety. Maybe they're really hyper aggressive humans, and it's a way for them to kind of get some of that anger and frustration out, is to get on the mats and to just compete and be able to hold the choke full strength for 10 seconds is very therapeutic. There's a big difference between holding a choke in the gym and holding a choke on the competition floor. When you're holding a choke on the competition floor, you're actually trying to finish it. When you're in the gym, if you're trying to finish it, you're a fucking asshole. So I like organizing competitions for our students. What I mean by that is we pick a date and then we all attend that. And so we went to the Next Gen Toronto. This is our second time at that tournament. We made that decision because there's actually one this weekend coming up in Oshawa. I just looked at the numbers and I thought, okay, this one has a very high registration rate and it's in Toronto. Let's just do this one because it's going to be a positive experience. It's close. We don't have to travel, and we can get, I think we took about 14, 15, 16. I don't know the exact number, but up around there. Took that many students. And I like doing that too because it helps supports the tournaments when we get a big showing from a team. Helps supports these guys and helps them continue to do these tournaments and grow them. But there was something that happened at this tournament that really grinded my gears, really pissed me off. It's something me and my wife feel deeply about, and I'm going to get into it in a second. But I also want to point out something as well. As a coach and a business owner, I'm not here to simply just participate. I'm here to make things better for everybody. If I'm not here to make things better for everybody and I'm just here to participate, then nothing will ever grow, nothing will ever get better. I'm here to point out the flaws of things. I'm here to do that. It's in a constructive way. Some people, when it comes to my personality, use this in an aggressive manner. But no, I think that there's room for improvement everywhere. And what I'm seeing now in the community, because we're getting so involved, striking, MMA, jiu-jitsu in the competition communities is, whether you like it or not, some of these organizations have a monopoly over things that are going on, and their procedures, the way they're doing things, are not beneficial to the public and to those recreational athletes I talked about who are there to compete. So before I get into the main topic, I'm going to go into another topic that really fucking annoyed the shit out of me. So at this tournament, at this Next Gen tournament, they did super fights, right? And I have no problem with that. You have high level black belts that are competing against each other in these fights. Well, first of all, I have two things. If you want to do a super fight, organize a show and do the super fights. We are now in a tournament, and what they did was, to me, the most insulting thing to the paying customers. All right, so I have 3 athletes who are scheduled to go up onto the mats, warmed up, ready to go, mentally ready. Whether they win or lose, who gives a shit? They're white belts, blue belts, they're going to win or lose. Warmed up, ready to go, mentally ready, paid their money, have every right to be there and ready, every right to go and compete. And then what they did was they shut the whole fucking thing down. Whole tournament down. No mats. So you're talking about like 14 mats, all shut down for 2 or 3 or 4 super fights. Shut down for 45 minutes to an hour. And the OJA and the governing body thought that was okay. like I said, I have nothing against those athletes that were competing in the super fights. They did fantastic, great showing. But to have hundreds of people and competitors stop and not be able to compete at the time they were scheduled to compete at, delay the entire tournament by over an hour because you wanted to have people sit there and watch these 1 or 2 matches going on 14 fucking mats. So you had 2 matches going on 14 total. So you had 12 unoccupied mats. People sitting there looking at these matches. Great, like I said, great jiu-jitsu. But by the second match, nobody gave a fuck. They wanted to get back to the match. And it just shows me how the OJA and these organizations really don't give a fuck about the athletes. If you did, you would have realized, hey, we cannot shut down 14 mats and delay people's lives who are paying customers, by the way, and piss them off for over an hour and a half, and pretty much hamper some of their performances, right? You pretty much screwed a lot of athletes out of performances because that wait time either makes them not warm, not focused, hungry. Their body goes out of optimization that their coaches might have had a process that got them perfectly ready to get on the mat. You took it out of them. You cheated them of that experience. And guess what? As a coach, I'm not going to forget that. When I look at events next year, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, hey, no, you cheated our athletes. You cheated not just mine, other athletes out of a fantastic experience. Up until then, the tournament was ran almost well. Not great, almost well. That took the whole experience out the window. I can't recommend that to my athletes anymore because the organization clearly showed that they don't give a fuck and care about your time or your competition. They care about what they want to do over what you want to do. And that's one of the things that really, really bugs me with all the organizations that are out there, Kickboxing Ontario, Waco, OJA, OGA, all you can name all of them, MTO, all of them have ulterior motives that do not benefit the athletes and do not benefit the martial arts public. If you were logically thinking about this, you would have said, okay, we want to do these super fights. We want to put on this little spectacle. Great. Take 2-3 mats on maybe in the center of the arena and put those on and let other people compete. Don't shut the whole thing down and show total disregard for everybody else's time. It was absolute horse trash. And you have coaches there, other black belts are just like, I want to get back to coaching. I want to get back to doing this. Like, I appreciate what's happening. I don't appreciate what you guys are doing to our time and what you're kind of basically throwing in our face with our money, saying, hey, even though you're paying customers, you're a second-class citizen at this event. That's what it felt like. So definitely please don't do that if you're hosting a tournament. I mean, something that we're looking at to do in our business, something we're never going to do, is disrespect people's time like that. It was just a really big slap into the face of the paying customers who paid their hard-earned money to go there and compete, and they were basically told, fuck you. We're going to do what we want, and I don't care if you're cold. Right? So here's where I really wanted to get to with this is, man, I'm going to try not to rant, but I'm going to end up ranting. So my daughter competed over the weekend, and I did talk to another professor, and I'm going to get some pushback on this, and I don't really give a fuck. I registered her, my daughter's 7 years old. I registered her for girls, 7-year-old gray belt, her weight division. And leading up to the event, they had another girl in her division, and so they would, the way they word it is, if there's another girl in the division, if there's only one, it's going to be best of 3. and which is what I was really in favor for. One of the things I hate, and I can't believe it's even a discussion, is men competing in women's sports. It's fucking stupid. It's disgusting. If you think it's okay, you're stupid. It's not okay. It's not okay for a grown ass man to enter a female sport and play soccer or baseball or basketball or football or whatever. What makes it okay for martial arts? Women have worked and I'm not a feminist at all. I'm just a fucking guy who has a daughter. Women have worked incredibly hard over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years to get a space where they can compete safely and fairly against other women and show that they are the top and the elite woman athlete at their sport, in their division, etc. Over the last 4 or 5 years, because of all the woke nonsense that's been coming out with people having mental illnesses, thinking they can say I am a woman and hop into a women's sport. It's a fucking mental illness, and it's disgusting. And I don't support that one fucking bit. If you are a biological man, get your fucking ass into a biological male sport, competing against biological males. If you're a biological female, get your ass into a female sport. I don't give a shit if you transition the other way. If you're a fucking woman, stay in the women's division. I don't care if you put on a fucking cut your hair and pretend you're a dude, stay in the women's division. Okay? If you're taking hormones or anything to transition, that's fucking cheating, right? I didn't think I would have to make this discussion and podcast a reality. I thought that growing up that was pretty self-explanatory. Unfortunately, the world has gone fucking stupid. Canada's half retarded, and the US is pretty much half retarded too. I'd say Canada's more than half retarded. Canada's 3/4 retarded. The US is half retarded. You have these amazing athletes like Riley Gaines, who gets totally demonized, and what people go after her because she stood up for what was right against that dude that was trying to race. Right? The arguments are there. I don't think I have to go out there and put it there. There's physiological differences between men and women. And then there's physiological differences between boys and girls, right? As a coach, I get to see that every fucking day. As a coach, I get to see boys being physically bigger and stronger than girls. Now, I have a little son. He's 5 years old. He's physically, because of his birthday, he's physically smaller than a lot of people, even girls that are technically the same age, but because of his birthday, he's a December baby, so he's physically a little bit underdeveloped, and that's going to catch up in time. But boys and girls deserve the same fairness in sport that women and men do. Okay? And I don't give it, like I said, I've talked to other professors, talked to other people in the community, and they have differing opinions, and I don't give a fuck. This is mine. And it's boys do not belong in girls' sports. If men don't belong in women's sports, boys do not belong in girls' sports. My daughter has worked incredibly hard over the last 3 years. She's been doing jiu-jitsu for 3 years now. I started at 4. She's 7. Okay? Incredibly hard to get a safe space where she can compete against other girls, not boys. Okay? When I'm in the gym here and I have boys that are the same age as her or older, there are clearly physical advantages that they have, right? I'll have a boy that's maybe, 8, I have a few of those 8-year-old boys right now who just started jiu-jitsu. They started like a month ago. They're a month in. They're 8. They're 1 year older than her, right? Sometimes just a few months older because the birthdays and how the birthdays work, right? I have boys that are 7 and they haven't been training as long as her. And my daughter is very good. She's actually a very good jiu-jitsu artist. I'm very proud of her. But these boys will just lay on top of her and give her such a hard time because physical size and strength is a factor. They develop physically different than girls. And I see it every day as a coach, and I can't ignore it. Some other coaches are being ignored because they want their kids to have competition. There are 7, 8-year-old boys that are physically more stronger. Almost all of them are physically stronger than the girls. I have an 8-year-old girl here. She's very tiny. She's very tiny. You can't put another 8-year-old boy on top of her, regardless of the weight class. Even if it was the same weight class, he's more dense. He has more muscle mass. He has more aggression, right? And so I'll see my daughter, she'll struggle, and she's really good, so she'll overcome the bigger boys, and her jiu-jitsu will prevail. That's the point of jiu-jitsu. But that's not the point of the jiu-jitsu competition. Jiu-jitsu competition is to provide a safe environment for these young girls to compete against other young girls that are girls, right? And it makes me angry. This is the second time the OJA has done it and has failed to acknowledge it, and does not understand our concerns as parents. First of all, I signed her up for a girls' competition, and she was forced to do a boys' competition. I asked for a full refund. I asked the OJA, no, you promised me she was going to compete in a girls' division, and you changed it at the last minute and added the boy. You didn't consult the parent. You didn't ask the parent's permission. You just said, this is how it's going to go. And when I asked for a refund, you're not going to give me a refund. So now you're strong-arming me into making my daughter go into an unsafe situation. Now you're strong-arming me to potentially have my daughter go against a very aggressive young boy. But it's not the boy's fault. The boy should be in a boy division. You're now strong-arming me to potentially put my daughter in a physically harming position. Because we're not talking about soccer. We're not talking about baseball. We're not talking about sports that you could do co-ed for a little bit because they're a ball sport and we're talking about a combat sport, a contact sport, a sport where they submit and choke and they're grappling and their knees and their elbows and their heads can collide and the squeeze of the arms and all these different things can go wrong. You're telling me you're going to force me to put my daughter into a position where she can get hurt and be unfairly treated in competition after years of women working extremely hard to progress sport to the point where they can have their own divisions, sports, leagues, etc. You're now saying that little girls don't deserve that. And I'm calling these organizations out. OJA, whoever else is fucking doing it, fuck you guys. That's bullshit. If I wanted my daughter to compete in a co-ed division, I would have registered her in a fucking co-ed division. I didn't. I registered her in a girls' gray belt jiu-jitsu competition. And you changed it because you didn't want to offer the other boy a refund because you couldn't get him a match. And you want to know what really happened there? Okay, I was wanting to pull her out. I was actually going to tell her, you know what? We don't believe in this. As a family, we don't believe in this. I was going to make her go out and tap on the mat and yell out, I'm not competing against a boy. They forced me to. But my daughter has great cojones. I love her for it. She said she wants to do it, and she wants to kick that boy's ass. And she actually did that. She went out there and kicked that boy's ass. Now, some people will be like, great, that's a good experience for her. No, she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to. When my wife told her the Friday night before she went to bed that they put a boy in her division, she was devastated. She was devastated. She wanted a fair competition between her and that other girl. Best of 3. See who's the best. And what ended up happening was this little boy got put into the division, and he was not good at all. He shouldn't have been put into that division. He got beat by 2 girls. How do you think that little boy's going to feel? If he got beat by 2 little boys, he wouldn't care. He got beat by 2 girls. And in fact, you cheated my daughter again because that other little girl was actually a lot better than that little boy. And those 2 matches that they would have had, maybe 3, because she could have won against my daughter, would have been way more valuable experience for those 2 little girls than having that boy in that division. Simply because you did not want to refund that kid money because you couldn't find him a matchup. You're going to degrade girls who work entirely too hard in the gym to have fair competition simply because the OJA and the governing bodies do not want to offer refunds because you cannot find matchups. I did not sign my daughter up for a fucking co-ed division. I signed her up for a fair competition between another girl. Not only did you screw that little boy, he had a terrible experience because he got dominated by little girls. You screwed those 2 little girls out of having potentially a best of 3 that would have been fantastic, that would have made them both incredibly better. And on the vice versa, what if that boy was really damn good? You just screwed that 2 girls out of having the joy of having their hands raised in victory for all their hard work. And you would have then set back women's jiu-jitsu another however fucking long, because those 2 little girls are going to say, hey, every single time I go to a competition, there's a chance there's going to be a boy in there and it's not fair and I don't want to do this anymore. So they told me that they stop it at 12 years old. If it's not okay for a 12-year-old, why is it okay for a 7-year-old? Why is it okay to put a 7-year-old at risk but not a 12-year-old at risk? And don't give me the puberty shit. There are gigantic little boys out there, and I know because I have them in my gym. It's fucking disgusting that the organizations that we rely on to be good in these situations are being absolute garbage to little girls. Garbage. They deserve as much of a safe space to compete as anybody else. And like I said, it's not that little boy's fault. He didn't do anything wrong. But now he has to go through a whole lot more. Like me as a male, losing to 2 females, now I can deal with it. I can deal with that. It would suck. I don't want to lose to 2 girls in jiu-jitsu, but they're some fantastic women in jiu-jitsu, and they'll tap me. Big deal. But as a little boy, that sucks. You put him in a shitty position. And even if he won, what are you going to say? Oh, how you want a gold medal? Great job. You beat 2 girls, right? You just held them down because you were stronger, right? You did him a disjustice. You did those 2 little girls a disjustice because they would have had a better competition between the 2 of them. And I think that other jiu-jitsu coaches need to start looking at this in the right manner, because I spoke to a couple of coaches about it and they're like, well, we want competition for them. You want it in the right way. You don't just want competition. Just because you're getting a match doesn't mean it's the right match. When I'm matching up for kickboxing and jiu-jitsu super fights and all that kind of stuff, I'm looking for the right match that will give my athletes a great experience, whether they win or lose. Right? I'm looking for a match that's going to give them a great experience. They're not going to get hurt. They're going to learn. They're going to have fun. And they're going to compete fairly. Why are we changing that for tournaments and for kids? Don't you want them to have fun, compete fairly, and be able to look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? I competed against somebody, same gender, same weight, same skill, and I won. Good for me. Or I lost. I need to get better. We're changing that formula because of what? We want the kids to get extra competition. If you want boys to compete against girls, host an in-house tournament at your freaking gym. But when it comes to real legit competition, there should not be a co-ed division, especially if the parent did not consent to that. Who are you, as a governing body, OJA, whoever? Who are you to tell the parent where what is safe enough for their kid? Who are you to say it's okay for your daughter to compete against a boy? Who are you? And that's where I draw the fucking line, right? I draw the line when it comes to you telling me how to parent my kid. You're telling me this is what happened. You told me I have no choice. My daughter must compete against this boy or else. That's what it is. Even though I did not consent to it as the parent, and even though I signed her up for a girls' division. The only way this should be allowed is if the organization, the tournament, whoever, contacts the parents and says, we want to make this a co-ed division now. Are you okay with that? And the parent consents and says yes. And I'm going to tell you straight up right now, I've asked plenty of people around here. They don't believe in that. They don't want that. They don't want their daughters competing against boys. They don't want their boys competing against girls. They want their boys to compete against boys, and they want their girls to compete against girls. So if you can't find a matchup because somebody didn't register, refund them their money, and they will find another experience to get that experience. There's tons of jiu-jitsu tournaments out there happening all over in every state, every province. There's tons happening. You're going to get a matchup. Don't degrade girls and women because you simply don't want to give people refunds. And that's my biggest rant. I feel like I don't have to say anything more about it. But that's also why I call these people out, because I'm starting to see that, with my communications with these organizations, they simply just have been unchecked for so long. They've been doing what they've been doing, and they've done a great job, by the way. Great job, because without them, we can't compete. We don't have competition. So they've done a great service to everybody. They've done a great service in making these sports accessible for a lot of people, making tournaments accessible, making competitions, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA. MMA is a little bit different because it goes directly to the government in terms of regulation, but these organizations have gone unchecked for too long. Meaning they've put in their rules, operations, the way they handle situations, and they say too bad to the customer, the paying customer, the people who make the tournaments happen, the people who make the organizations run. Without the clubs, without the club owners, without the coaches, without the professors, without the mats that we provide here to raise the athletes here, you don't have that organization. You don't have the tournaments. You don't have the competitions without us. So where does the power really lie? With them or with us? It's with us. They don't have anything without us. So why do they get the final say? Why do those organizations get to determine if it's okay for little boys to intrude on little girls' sport? If it's not okay for men, it's not okay for boys. So why do those organizations get the last laugh and they get to determine what happens without parental consent, without the consent of the athletes? Because I will tell you right now, if you ask the athlete, which was my daughter, if you asked her if she wanted to compete against that little boy, she would have said no. The only reason she did it is because she wanted to win that badly. She did not want to pull out. She put in so much effort getting ready and training for that tournament. She went to extra sessions. I had her go to some other academies to train so she can get rid of her competition anxiety. She put in so much extra. The only reason she said she'd fight him was because she didn't want to waste all her effort. But I'll tell you right now, if that little boy was better, you would have cheated those two girls so hard, and it would have been, you might have cost two young girls to not want to continue to do jiu-jitsu because you put them in unfair situations that they did not sign up for. Those two little girls signed up to compete against themselves, not against a boy. And the organizations that are running these, the government organizations, they don't give a shit. The OJ, the Waco, they don't give a fuck. They got their rules and they've been unchecked for so long. And it's about time that the club owners, the ones that support them, speak up. I'm not trying to shut anybody down. I'm not trying to cause controversy. Maybe a little bit. But that's my job. My job is to make sure that the best competition environment is there for my students. And when I see something wrong, I'm not just going to simply sit down and shut my mouth because you're running it. That's not how life works. That's not how this is going to work. People are going to speak up eventually, whether it be a political thing or not. The people run the show, not the organization. Without the people, the organization doesn't exist. So the power lies in our hands to make these changes. And the power lies in the parents' hands to make these changes. Other parents of little girls, like I am, I'm a parent of a little girl, need to speak up and say, hey, I did not sign my child up for that. If I wanted them to compete co-ed, I would sign them up for co-ed sport. I didn't. So don't do it. And don't tell me that it's okay, because it's not. You're not the parent. And I didn't give authorization for that. Neither did all the other parents. And neither did those little girls, because I could tell you those little girls wouldn't want to compete against boys. They want to compete against themselves and see who the best little girl is, and so that they can push each other to get better each and every time, and they can have a fair sport to grow into and grow up thinking. Guess what? These little girls are now thinking that when they go up and keep getting older, they're going to have to compete against boys. They're not going to see it as a sport where they have a great environment to become a world champion, or they have a great environment to become a female, who's leading and paving the way in jiu-jitsu and in combat sport. They're not going to see it that way. They're children. They're going to see it as there's always going to be some sort of obstacle that screws me over when I go to compete. They're not going to see it as I'm going to train my butt off, and I'm going to go, and there's going to be a fair competition between me and other girls or other boys. They're going to see it as there's going to be something that stands in the way of me being successful. And then they're going to say, fuck this sport. I'm going to go do something where I can just compete with other girls. And there lies another problem, because some people are fucking retarded and they think men can hop in a women's sport. They're just stupid. But that's my biggest issue, and that's my rant. That's the whole purpose of this episode. And like I said, I'm not trying to cause controversy and belittle these organizations, because they've done so much to further our sports. But it's gone to a point now where we need to recognize it's the people, the club owners, the people who provide the athletes to make those events successful, who have the say, not the organization. They don't get to determine what is safe and right for us to do. And also, for fuck's sake, they don't get to determine if the matches stop for a super fight. That should never happen. It should just show great disrespect for everybody there who was waiting to compete. Everybody. Including the people who didn't even arrive yet because their divisions didn't go yet. Then they came early to like, say you came an hour and a half early so you can get ready, and you ate your food properly. You determined how you're going to prepare for this, and you got there, and now you got 2.5 hours to kill, and now your energy levels are gone, all that kind of shit. Man, it's fucking ridiculous. But I want to say, I want to end on this note, is like, I'm not trying to cause a controversy with these organizations. I'm trying to make sure that they realize that they need to do better and they need to start listening. They can't simply say, oh, bring it up at our board of governors meeting once a year that we do. No, that's not how it works. Bring it up now and let's fix it now. Let's make it a fact now that if in any competition, if there is not enough persons in that division that are of the same gender, weight, and skill level, you get your money back, move on to the next one. We no longer want co-ed divisions unless the parent signs you up for the co-ed division. If you want a co-ed division, make it a co-ed division. If you don't want it to be a co-ed division, then It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be forced upon people. And the organization should have to answer this for the parents. Because it's going to take one bad accident, one accident where someone gets really hurt, that's going to make people open up their eyes. Or the worst thing, to me, the worst thing is you have now cheated a lot of little girls out of gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals, great performances, because you forced them to compete against little boys who are physically stronger than them. And you're insane to say that strength doesn't play a component in jiu-jitsu, because it does. And now those girls are no longer competing. Now those girls are no longer doing jiu-jitsu because you made an unfair competitive space for them, and they don't want to be involved in that. And so they've transitioned to other sports and other things where they feel that their needs as a young girl are met by fair competition. And that's what I'm trying to do, because I'm a girl dad. That little girl is my number one priority. And seeing her have a fair space to compete is my number one priority. And as a person in my position, everyone keeps telling me I'm a fucking leader. I'm a fucking leader. All these parents keep telling me I'm a role model. I'm a role model for their kids, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the role model. I'm telling you, we need to provide fair, safe competition for you little girls and little boys. And they can't be together. If you want a co-ed sport, sign up for a co-ed sport. But jiu-jitsu is not a co-ed sport. They can train together, yes. But to fight, no. And that's the episode today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure you like and subscribe. So hit the like button down there. Subscribe wherever the fucking button is. There. Subscribe. Help me grow the channel so I can continue to spread messages like this. So I can continue to build a more positive environment for all of us to compete, all of us to have great martial arts, all of us to just enjoy the sports of jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, MMA, all of it. I want to keep doing these kind of things, featuring better people, and having great conversations around topics that should be talked about. And this is definitely one of them. So please make sure we like and subscribe, support the channel, give me your feedback on what I talked about today, whether you agree, disagree. I don't care. You're allowed to disagree. I've spoken to a few people who do disagree with me and think that you should just let it happen. And that's their opinion. And my opinion is if it's not okay for women or men to compete in women's sport, then it's not okay for boys to compete in girls' sport. You can't have a double standard. It's the same. There's physical advantages that they have at any level. I'm a man, I know, and I'm a coach. I see it every single day. The advantages that the boys of the same age have and the same weight, and you can't deny it. If you deny it, you're an idiot. And that's all I have to say about that. So thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and peace out.